What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Tuesday. Dan Kasper Show is on the air on your radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online at sportstalk1051.com, where you can stream it. Get the link for the YouTube video feed. Otherwise, it's up on Facebook and Twitter as well. Otherwise, you get your Google and Alexa home devices, and of course the Sports Talk app. Appreciate you tuning in, giving us making us a part of your starts on this Tuesday morning here. Might want to pay a little bit of attention to the weather, depending on where you're at. I know some of the main roads here in Eau Claire kind of cleared off, but Melrose Mindoro is delayed this morning, so might want to stay tuned to our website, sportstalk1051.com, for the latest school closings and delays. Brought to you by Hovland's and Service Master of Chippewa Valley. We begin this morning taking a look at the game plan here. Obviously, the big one out there, in case you missed it last night during Monday Night Football, or if you haven't heard, Bills safety Damar Hamlin. This is going to be the whatever shows, wherever you're going to be tuning in. There's going to be talking about this and updates, but a very, very, very scary situation. If you didn't see it or you haven't heard about it, but Bill safety Damar Hamlin, after making a tackle last night on T. Higgins, getting up and collapsing to the turf after standing up and making a tackle. Latest updates that have been out there have been that he was given CPR on the field, exited via ambulance to a hospital, and according to the latest updates, he's on a ventilator. He was put into a medical coma. Vitals, according to some of his representation, is back to normal, but still a very, very, very scary situation last night. The game ended up being postponed afterwards as well. Obviously, a lot of shaking up players on the field. If you didn't, if you didn't see it last night, or if you haven't seen anything yet on the socials and all that sort of stuff, but more importantly, everybody's concerned about the health for Damar Hamlin and his family and his teammates there too. I don't know. I know some people have been kind of wondering, is this going to be a game that's made up? Is what's going to be the plan? I have no idea. I really don't know what's going to happen after that. But I think the most important thing at this point in time is making sure that Damar Hamlin's going to be okay. But man, a 24-year-old, and you look at it. I mean, it's if you haven't seen the play, it doesn't look like a big hit, but it's just one of those things. And I know there's been, some speculation exactly what happened. It was a cardiac event out there. Exactly what it is, I don't know. I know some people have kind of thrown out Komodo cordis, I think is how it's pronounced, but it's kind of like the impact to your chest and kind of like almost like a sudden death sort of thing with an impact to your chest. But I don't want to speculate or throw anything out there until we hear from the people who actually know what happened. But definitely a very, very scary situation. Probably something that I don't know if I know for a fact I never would have thought I would have witnessed, watching a game or anything like that. But we'll keep you posted if anything does, any news updates or anything like that kind of comes through. So we'll keep you posted on there. But as of right now, again, his heartbeat was restored on the field after suffering a cardiac arrest. Was given CPR on the field. He is on a ventilator, and his vitals, according to again his marketing agent, is back to normal, but he is on a ventilator and such, and going through some tests right now. So It is tough to kind of maybe talk about sports after witnessing something like that last night, but we will do our best here this morning. Uh, Before all that, we got the remaining schedule for the final week of the NFL season. I guess again, I know some people have kind of been thrown out. Will they play the games this weekend? I don't know. I know that's some people have asked about that. I honestly I don't know. But assuming that they will, the Packers will be playing in the primetime game Sunday night for against the Detroit Lions. Winning their end, we know that. I know there were some people or some people out there kind of throwing out there that this is an advantage for Green Bay potentially because well Seattle they play the Rams in the afternoon. Seattle wins. It takes Detroit out of any chance to make the postseason. So some are kind of speculating that, oh, maybe that would take the wind out of sails of Detroit if they know as they hit the field at Lambeau Field that they can't make the postseason. Others have said, well, flip side of that, maybe they play a little bit more loose, have nothing to play for. Maybe that's a little bit more dangerous for a Detroit Lions team coming into Lambeau. Regardless, Packers play Sunday night, so get ready for staying up late on Sunday and an early rise on Monday, and hopefully it is a victory Monday when we get to it. But we will talk a little Packers coming up here in just a little bit. Opening drive, we got some comments from Matt LaFleur yesterday. Again, talking about the defense. We touched on it a little bit yesterday, but I want to talk about the defensive line here a little bit too, outside of Kenny Clark. Maybe giving some love to some of the other players that have kind of stood up. And I think, a lot of for the improved defensive play in the last couple of weeks here, you can point to a lot of different factors. And I think overall the unit, as every facet of this unit has gotten better. But I think one particular unit in this that's maybe set the tone or helped set the tone has been the defensive line. And there's been some more help besides just Kenny Clark. So I kind of want to give a little bit of attention there, and maybe start to kind of continue to look at this matchup for between the Packers and the Lions. So we'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. We will talk some Bucks as the Bucks will be taking on the Wizards again tonight at home before they're on the road against Toronto tomorrow. Chris Middleton already ruled out. We were talking a little bit about this yesterday with the Bucks, and kind of on this skid that they're in, this little losing stretch here. And my biggest concern, I guess, going forward is going to be the long-term health of Chris Middleton, and how much of an issue is that is that knee going to be throughout the whole year. And maybe they're just being cautious with it so that he's ready to go and that he'll be good when it comes to the postseason or towards the end of the season, possibly and such. But it can't make you feel too good that Chris Middleton's still struggling with some knee issues. So, but we'll talk some hoops, not only with the Bucks taking on the Wizards, but also talk some Badger hoops with RJ Cardinal coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Badgers taking on the Gophers. Badgers did move up one spot in the latest AP poll rankings yesterday, so they are up to 14. Speaking of some college hoops, last night we had an upset. Rutgers upsets number 1 Purdue again. So Purdue taking a loss from Rutgers. So we'll talk some more Badgers too. I know I kind of mentioned it or mentioned it yesterday when we were talking Badger quarterbacks and another transfer portal quarterback coming on over. Can't wait to talk to RJ about that. If you're watching some of the games yesterday, Mississippi State getting the victory over Illinois. LSU dominating Purdue 63-7. Tulane taking down USC 46-45. And then Penn State's taking down Utah 35-21. Of course, now we are less than a week away from the national Championship. So we got that on the docket. It is a Grind My Gears. If anybody does have a Grind My Gears Tuesday, you can start to hit us up with some text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Or hit me up on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. We'll do a little pop quiz coming up before the top of the hour. So we'll get to that, see if anybody can get our Tuesday pop quiz, and we'll hit up a little bench start cut probably in the 8 o'clock hour, because at 7:45 got a little bit of a surprise announcement coming up at 7:45. So probably have to push the bench start cut into the 8 o'clock hour. But it will be a busy 8 o'clock hour because, again, we have RJ, and then we'll be catching up with the Chip with Steel on there as well. So, but let's get things rolling here this morning. Opening drive. We'll keep you posted if anything does drop in terms of any updates to DeMar Hamlin and such. But we will talk a little green and gold. We'll talk a little Packers coming up here in just a few minutes on our opening drive. I want to talk a little bit about the defensive line here and the improvement from more than just Kenny Clark, because I think there's one player for sure that we should probably give a little love, that maybe we kind of forgot to give some love to yesterday. And Matt LaFleur was, made sure to give him a little bit of attention, a little bit of love yesterday. So I want to talk a little bit about the defensive line group. We're, in the trenches, starts up front with those players. So let's get things rolling. Opening drive. We'll take our first break, and we'll chat a little green and gold as we inch closer and closer to Week 18 and winning in for your green and gold. We'll be back after these words. Don't forget to run over to Hy-Vee and grab yourself some, well, a fantastic like tailgate package for maybe the playoffs coming up here. Grab yourself some Man Cave Lights. Grab yourself some Dan Good Burgers over in the meat department, and whatever other snacks that you want to fill up with. Because you got, well, we got Week 18. I mean, we got the big game coming up on Sunday. So if you're having a little party at the house or something like that, you can load up there. Or if you're getting ready for the postseason too. You can stop on over to Hy-Vee, your tailgating headquarters, for all the tailgating goodies that you need, including Man Cave Light. Got to get it up at the bar. They'll put it in the crawlers or the Wahlburgers bar over there. So that's where you got to get it, and then go in the back in the meat department there and grab yourself some Dan Good burgers to put on the grill and that sort of stuff. So good stuff over there. Let's open up things here this morning on our opening drive. Chatting a little green and gold, as we now know the Packers and Lions. They will be kicking off Sunday night, prime time games, Sunday night football. I was selfishly hoping that they would get an afternoon game, knowing that they wouldn't get a noon game. I was selfishly hoping that they would get an afternoon game, but secretly probably is like, yeah, they're probably going to be getting that primetime game. And, well, that is official. They will get the Sunday night game there. Lions will know whether they are still in it or not by the time it kicks off on Sunday night, because if Seattle wins in the afternoon against the Rams, well, doesn't matter what the Lions do. They're out of it. They'll be out of it. So whether that's a good thing, where, again, some people have kind of thrown out the idea that, hey, maybe a few of them play a little deflated and such. Otherwise, you had the other side saying, well, they'll bring the energy and just have really nothing to lose and let it kind of air out. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Doesn't matter. Green Bay, take care of your own business, worry about your own thing, and get the W. So, but, we've been kind of talking about, the defense. Matt LaFleur yesterday, some of the comments that he had to say about, excuse me, his defense there. Maybe in the last, not only that game, but kind of going back to the second half in Miami, said this about the defensive communication in the secondary. I just felt like the overall energy of the defense was up. The physicality, the communication, all of it. Guys are playing off one another. Also, he talked a little bit about the defensive line, in particular one player, and I feel like we kind of overlooked him when we were handing out some game balls yesterday. And I'm one of them. I'm definitely one of them who kind of overlooked him too. But when we were handing out some game balls yesterday, nobody really picked him. But I think got to give some love to TJ Slate, defensive lineman from the game. Couple batted balls in the game, but also he led the team, according to Pro Football Focus. TJ Slaton led the team with a team high 3 stops against the run, over 24 total snaps there. But you kind of look at some of the plays that he has been able to make in his limited time, and honestly, more reps are out there now too because of Dean Lowry being out for the season. But TJ Slaton, I think, has been a guy, especially as of late, that has played fairly well. And in fact, if you do like looking at Pro Football Focus grades, TJ Slaton was graded as a top 5 defender for the Packers. 2 defensive linemen cracking the top 5. Kenny Clark was at number 2, TJ Slaton at number 4. Your number 1 highest ranked player was Isaiah McDuffie. Now, and I'm not trying to knock McDuffie by any means, but a 90.8 grade he had. 2 stops against the run, over 12 snaps in the second half there. Rudy Ford was the 3rd highest graded player. Jair Alexander, the 5th highest graded player. Something I thought was kind of interesting too, when you look at the snap breakdowns. So when you look at how many snaps the guys played, and you look at the defensive line, the highest, or the player that played the most snaps on the defensive line was Kenny Clark. No big surprise, right? But he played 36 snaps, which was 62% of the total plays on defense. For, to give you a little bit of a comparison here, Rasul Douglas played 100% of the snaps on defense. He was the only player to play 100% of the snaps, and that was at 58. Devontae Wyatt, the rookie at Georgia, saw an increase in snaps. And again, a lot of it has to deal with Dean Lowry being on the injured reserve. But you saw him spike up to 34 snaps, 59%. So he was just a couple snaps behind Kenny Clark there. But then you saw TJ Slayton, as we mentioned, at 24 snaps, 41%. So I think when you hear people say, well, he only played 24 snaps, for crying out loud, how much of an impact? But it's like, well, that was almost half the snaps. You got to put the total amount of, snaps in perspective here. And I think it kind of catches a lot of people off guard. It's like, wow, Minnesota only had 58 snaps, in the game there. That's something. So compare it, Green Bay had 63 plays. So, but, you look at those three guys, and then Reed also on here. Reed actually 33 snaps, 57%. But you kind of saw almost a very even rotation on the defensive line yesterday with the Packers. And we look at Reed, who I thought perhaps had his best game as a Packer in Miami. And then you have TJ Slayton perhaps having one of his best games as a Packer yesterday. We've seen the improved play from Kenny Clark. He's been on fire, or he's been playing like the Kenny Clark, I should say, that maybe we've come to expect, or what we thought would be this year. And then Devontae Wyatt, the rookie first rounder, getting an increase in snaps here too. But you look at this group overall, and I think, again, we kind of touched on it a little bit yesterday. But when you look at this defensive improvement, maybe more so like in the run game, because you look at, stop and run. And overall, Green Bay has not been good throughout this whole season at stopping the run. But you look at the last few games, and they've done a better job at slowing down the run from running backs. I think that's maybe the caveat to put in that whole thing, because, well, Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts kind of killed them with their legs and that sort of thing. But they don't have to worry about that, I don't think, with Jared Goff, although Kirk Cousins kind of ran off a couple of big yardages yesterday or on Sunday there too. So you never know with Jared Goff. But you get what I'm getting at here. So, but I think, with that improvement from the defensive play, and you kind of take a look at, stopping the run there too, a lot of that starts up front with those big guys, with in the trenches, the defensive linemen. And, I remember at the beginning of the year, I was one, and like a lot of you too, I was like, okay, defensive line, we've got some depth. There's a little bit more outside of Kenny Clark. They got a first round pick from Georgia, Wyatt. They bring in Reed into this equation. So maybe, got a little bit more depth. That should help out Kenny Clark, so doesn't have as many double teams. Because right now, a lot of teams for the last few years have doubled up on Kenny Clark and trying to make everybody else beat them. And so I think it's fair to say it hasn't worked out that way for the most part of the season, especially in the beginning part of the season, 3/4 of the season, if you want to make that case. But as of late, in the last couple of weeks, the defensive line play has improved. In my opinion, I think it has really improved, and that's, Kenny Clark has improved. Reed has improved. Wyatt is getting some more opportunities. We saw TJ Slate. He gets kind of, I think, tagged as mostly as a run defender. And well, when you look at, the numbers and all that, you can see why. But we've seen that improvement from the defense, from the run defense, and a lot of that is due to the guys playing up front. I also think it helps a lot that the Packers offense has become a little bit more consistent, right? It's not so many quick 3 and outs anymore. It's they've been able to put up some more points in their game, so that helps out their run defense as well, because, well, teams don't necessarily just have to turn around and hand the ball off every single time, because, well, now they got to play a little catch up maybe to the Packers and that sort of thing. So I think it's hand in hand in that essence. But, again, when we look at the improvement from this defensive line here a little bit, I think you can look at up front. You can look at the guys up front. And that's why I want to make sure that, Matt LaFleur kind of reminded everybody about the way TJ Slayton had played in his presser yesterday, and it's like, I think we kind of overlooked him a little bit. You kind of forgot about a couple batted balls, one that led to an interception, the Adrian Amos interception there. And then you look at his stops, led team high in stops, run stops. So, TJ Slayton had a game that probably doesn't show up in your typical box scores out there, but nonetheless really had a big time effect on the game itself. And that'll be huge going forward. I mean, throughout the postseason, if they get into the postseason, this improved defensive line, if they can help stop the run out there. So maybe Green Bay doesn't have to bring extra defenders in the box. Maybe you can kind of exploit Quay Walker a little bit more and use his versatility and use his speed out there just a little bit more. It just seems like, and I don't want to come off as being this big old homer and saying, Green Bay's the best team in the NFC right now. Once they get in the postseason, they're gonna be out there and they're gonna be the favorites, right? No, I mean, I don't want to do that, but I think you can make the case that something's just clicking now as of late in these last couple games. It's not a big sample size by any means. It's not. Okay, it's not. It's not like they've been doing this since October or November. But heading into this postseason, if they get into the postseason, they got to take care of their business. They got to beat the Lions here first, and that's going to be a tough matchup. But if they get in, things are clicking a little bit more. And I know Aaron said that, Aaron Rodgers said that he feels like they're a dangerous team now and that sort of thing. But guys are starting to get more comfortable. Maybe that's the best way to kind of put it. I mean, Quay Walker, too. I think you got to take a look at this. I know he's kind of, there were some fans and there were some that were texting the program in the early parts of the season, already calling him a bust in his rookie year, Quay Walker. And it's like, just come on, settle down here. But you look at since week 10, how about this nugget for Quay Walker? This is from Zach Cruz, who covers the green and gold. Quay Walker, since week 10, 8 receptions allowed on 15 targets into his coverage for a total of just 23 yards. 3 forced incompletions, 7 stops. 8 receptions on 15 targets for just a total of 23 yards. I think you can make the case, we're seeing an improvement from Quay Walker, but I also think too, if that defensive line continues to play at a high level where they can continue to fill those gaps, where they can continue, to stop the run and that sort of stuff and maybe collapse the pocket, it allows a guy like Joe Barry, their defensive coordinator, maybe to utilize Quay Walker's skill sets a little bit more, whether it's, we've seen him kind of blitzing and going after the quarterback. Obviously, he has played extremely well in coverage as of late. I will say the one thing with Quay Walker, he got flagged for it again. He does bring the physicality, right? He does bring that. He brings the noise. He's going to have to tone that one down probably a little bit there, but he definitely brings that out there. And I again, I don't want to make any excuses for him too, but it's like, was it Ford or somebody like that was kind of like lifting his legs up? I don't know. I just don't want to make any excuses for him, but nonetheless, now that's one thing. You don't want to have stupid penalties and giving the team an extra 15 yards or anything like that. So, but I think you could look at Quay Walker, the rookie too, and maybe just kind of settling into his own and getting a little bit more comfortable with the speed of the NFL right now. We forget that a lot of these guys are rookies, and we just expect them to be, instant playmakers. And those rookies who tend to win like rookies of the year and that, those are few far in between. Not everybody out is going to be like a Jamar Chase that comes out or a Micah Parsons that comes out and just absolutely dominates, just dominates right away. Not all of them can do that in their first season. So, but no, I think, as we inch a little bit closer to this game and we start to really kind of break it down and look at this matchups, you look at this Packers defense and, they're going to have their hands full with their former teammate Jamal Williams. He's just a few yards away from getting his first 1,000-yard season. He has been extremely effective in the red zone. I mean, 15 rushing touchdowns this year for Jamal Williams. Leads the entire league. Green Bay's done a pretty good job if we look at Miami and Minnesota with, goal line defense standing it up there. That'll be a challenge if the Lions can get down there. Can they continue to play at a high level within that red zone defense? So, I mean, again, I think when we get to Friday for our Football Friday and we really kind of preview this game and we throw out the key matchups and all that sort of stuff, it's going to be a simple one. It's going to be Detroit Lions offense versus the Packers defense. Who's going to win that battle? Who's going to win up front? Detroit's offensive line they're a better unit. They're a better unit. Jared Goff is playing some good football right now. His last interception, Jared Goff's last interception was Green Bay. Go back to November 6th. That was his last interception that Jared Goff threw. Now, you can factor in weather, you can factor in the outdoors and all that sort of stuff. Will he, how will he play in that? And, we can deep dive into that a little bit later, but you can't deny how well Jared Goff has played since that Green Bay game. I mean, for crying out loud, last interception was on November 6th. Yeah, week 9. Week 9. And Jair Alexander is the one who picked him off in week 9. He's in his zone right now. Got to give him credit. Got to give the Lions offense credit. This is a dangerous team. That's why, everybody's, Steve Young was on the Packers bandwagon last night too. And that it's like, just pump the brakes here a little bit. They got to get by the Lions. A dangerous Lions team, and a Lions team that would love nothing more. Even if they don't have anything to play for when it comes to that game, it's a Dan Campbell-led team that I think will still be motivated to go out there and ruin the Packers' playoff hopes. They're still going to go out there. Will there be a little bit of a disappointment that they won't be able to go to the playoffs? Absolutely. It's only human nature to not, think about that, or to not have that think, or at least, have that little bit of a mindset there. But I don't think it'll really affect the overall play from the Lions, to be honest with you. I really don't. I mean, I think if it were me and, I'm in the Lions situation, or I'm a player on that Lions team, and, before kickoff find out, hey, we're eliminated, I'm going to take out some of the frustration maybe on Green Bay then a little bit. Like, all right, this is my final game of the year. Not going to the playoffs, a little pissed off, a little upset about it. I'm going to take out some of my frustration out on Green Bay here. I'm going to do it. So I don't necessarily buy the whole, well, this is an advantage for Green Bay because, Lions, they'll know if they're out of the playoffs or not. Not really. Maybe for like a minute or two. But I don't want to knock out Green Bay anyways. I don't want to see Green Bay go to the postseason. You kidding me? They don't want to do that. Heck no. I ain't buying that. Maybe I'm the only one in there, but I'm not buying it. So, all right. Hey, we got to take a quick break here. But don't forget, you can join the convo. Video streams up. Put some stuff on there or hit us up with the text, 715-830-1912. Twitter at DANKASPER. Facebook.com /Kasper Sports as well. Let me ask you this before we take our break here. When we look at this Packers defensive line, who outside of Kenny Clark, have you been more impressed as of late with a guy like TJ Slaton or Reed with their play? Who do you think outside of Kenny Clark has been the biggest difference maker on this defensive line? I know it might be a little bit of a tough question on there, but if you had to pick between the two, or maybe you're like, toss up. It's a collective unit. But I've been impressed with TJ Slaton. in his second year. I really have. And, maybe he's just going to be a guy that's going to be a run defender, a two down guy, guy that's going to be on in early downs. Maybe. But as of right now, I've been impressed. And I'm not trying to make any comparisons, but remember 2010, 2011, Packers had a defensive lineman up there too, of a Howard Green, who was just a two down lineman. Obviously, not in size wise, Howard Green was just massive, right? But not trying to make any comparisons. But guess what I'm getting at? There's nothing wrong with having a guy that's a two down lineman, early down guy to be in there for just the run. So, think about that one for a little bit. All right, we'll take a quick break, and then I'll get you your Tuesday pop quiz question coming up after these quick words. All right, so Aaron Jones, here's your pop quiz question for the morning. Aaron Jones, another year of 1,000 yards rushing for him. That's his third time in the last 4 years. He has rushed the ball for over 1,000 yards. Aaron Jones, we've gotten, Eddie Lacy had a couple times where he ran the ball for over 1,000 yards. Ryan Grant, Amon Green has had more than a couple. He's had a few. Dorsey Levens is on there. Edgar Bennett's a couple times too. But your pop quiz question. So Edgar Bennett in 1995 ran the ball for 1,067 yards. He was the first Packers running back to rush for over 1,000 yards since who and in what year? Now, again, try not to cheat. Make it a little fun. Try not to Google it. That sort of stuff. But, again, the question is, so Edgar Bennett in 1995 ran the ball for barely over 1,000 yards, but he was the first Packer since who and in what year? You can text, tweet, Facebook it. We'll give you the answer just past the 7 o'clock hour. So, Siva, do you got an answer for that one?
Capitano, and I don't know. Was it Eddie Lee Ivory? I would have to sit and think. That's a tough question.
All right,
That's going back a little ways.
It is. It is. So I'll let you think about it a little bit, okay, there, big guy?
That sounds good. That's a tough question.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, because they stunk for a while before Edgar Bennett got going there. So and Edgar Bennett, he was a heck of a mutter, wasn't he? He could run in anything. That guy was awesome.
Yep, I agree. Hey, it's been a while. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How you doing now, Capitano? Last time we talked, I believe we were hoping the stars would align, and holy crap, they aligned they aligned perfectly over the last month. So to all those Aaron Rodgers haters and everybody who was calling for Jordan Love a month ago, there you go. Stick it to you. I mean, we're at where we need to be, right?
You don't want anything else other than to control your own destiny, right? And that's exactly where they're at.
Absolutely. It's exactly where they're at. And on a Grind My Gears Tuesday, I don't have anything really to grind my gears on right now. I'm just excited. And I hope that Seattle loses and Detroit's playing for it all, because you know what? It's that time of year. I want the best Detroit Lions we can get, because in my opinion, they're not the best team in the league, and our goal is still the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would like to see fall into place and everything happen this weekend is the possibility. So if Dallas were to lose and Minnesota were to win, would Minnesota jump into the 2 seed?
Well, let me bring up the NFL playoff machine here for you. Let me do that.
Yeah, I know you like playing that machine, so I figured I would ask you that question, because boy, would nothing make me feel better than to go into Minnesota and knock them out.
So, well, I mean, you still have San Francisco in there too, because San Francisco is currently the 2 seed.
Oh, about them, yeah, and they're probably who's San Francisco got this weekend?
Arizona.
I can't remember. Right
Arizona.
Yeah, San Francisco's going to win that. Well, I don't care. It'd be nice to return the favor what they did to us last year. Go in down there as an underdog and beat them. So
that's why
we're starting to gel at the right time.
A lot of I was seeing some people say they were hoping for a Cowboys 2 seed, so go and beat Mike McCarthy again. And I'm like, I don't know. I'd be a little bit nervous. I think Mike McCarthy might want a little revenge against his old team in his new house. That one would make me a little nervous. Just saying.
Yeah, well, you know what? The NFC playoffs are going to be wide open this year, and just because we beat Dallas at home, and we played well that game, but look at the Vikings. I mean, they destroyed us week 1, and we turned around and buried them. So be careful what you wish for there.
You mentioned that with the NFC really quick before you get to the defense. Do you think? I mean, there's a few teams, and I'm not saying they're the best teams, because I think the AFC, I think they've got more depth there. But do you think the NFC, could you make a case for at least a few teams getting to the Super Bowl?
Absolutely. I think any, and one team we haven't talked about is the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, there's a lot of those playoff teams in the NFC I think are extremely close. And it would not surprise me if the 7 seed went in and made a run and got through.
Mm-hmm.
So, and whether that's Green Bay or Detroit. So, yeah, it's going to be to watch these playoffs. I don't think the Giants have what it takes, but yeah, it's going to be pretty wide open. I think the AFC is a little more top heavy. They're obvious. Whoever comes out of the AFC is probably going to be the favorite to win the whole thing. But you never know. This is what we play for, right?
Right.
And I can't, again, a month ago, everybody, they were on their last gasp. The season was about over, and here they've made their run. So
right.
I'm pretty stoked, as all Packer fans are, I'm sure, and it's going to be pretty electric there at Lambeau Field this week. Holy smokes! I was looking at the ticket prices, man. I paid less to go to NFC Championship games than what they want for some of these tickets.
Well, it's funny you say that because a buddy of mine, it was before the Vikings game, was talking to me about going to that Detroit game, and he was showing me some of the prices at that point, and this was before the Minnesota game. They're only like $60, and now he texted me last night. He's like, "Yeah, no way." It's like, but I totally get it. I understand why.
Yep. Yeah, I was looking at there was a couple that were in the front row in the like 2 sections to the right of the tunnel that they were like $200 a couple weeks ago, and right now they want $1,500 a piece for them.
Man,
you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. As long as it's Packer fans. As long as it's Packer fans.
You gotta love it. And the defense, like I was going to touch on, and you touched on it yesterday. I mean, they played extremely well. By no means do I think this gets Joe Barry off the hook. This defense is built to play with a lead, and that's the first time really in months that this team has played with a lead. So the defensive scheme worked out well. Minnesota abandoned the run for the most part, and we were able to take over. But yeah, the defense is starting to gel. They're starting to play better together, and they're turning the ball over, and that's making a huge difference. So I'm excited to see what happens this week, and if they win this game. Scratch the records. It's a whole new season, and Green Bay's right where we anticipated they'd be in the playoffs.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, everybody and a lot of people have said it. It's probably a better thing that they're going to be playing on the roads, because let's be honest, we've been playing terrible at home the last 3 years. Every time we have the 1 or 2 seed or whatever it is we're going to be. So, Rodgers, let's face it, he plays better in the warmer weather. So this could be a blessing in disguise having a rough season like this.
Yeah, we shall see. All right, C-Bomb. Appreciate the phone call, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay, bud?
Thanks for having me, my brother. You have a great day and a great rest of the week.
You too, buddy. There you go. There's C-Bomb hopping off here this morning. All right, good. In case you missed the pop quiz question, Aaron Jones just got his third 1,000-yard rushing season, third in the last 4 years. Edgar Bennett in 1995 he rushed for the 1,067 yards. He was the first Packers running back to get over 1,000 yards rushing since who? Give me the person, give me the year. Don't look it up. Guess it. Have some fun with it. So, quick update too. We got some more delays out there for some schools. So head to our website. School closings and delays brought to you by Hovland's and Service Master of Chippewa Valley. But looks like we got a few more out there. Melrose Mindoro's delayed. Sparta's delayed. Westby's delayed. New Lisbon's delayed. Hillsboro's delayed. Cashton's delayed a couple hours. These are all a couple hours here. Bangor is delayed a couple of hours too. So, again, Necedah delayed a couple hours. But you can get the list at our website again. SportsTalk1051.com. All right, coming up in the next hour, we get to some sports nuggets. Also, we'll talk some Bucks. Bucks taking on the Washington Wizards again tonight. Tip off at 7. Get to the latest in terms of the health for this Bucks team heading into this game against the Wizards. Can the Bucks get a little bit more healthy and maybe avenge that loss from Sunday against the Wizards? So we'll hit that up coming up just past the top of the hour there. Also, we got some Badger hoops tonight. Badgers getting back to their Big Ten portion of their schedule, taking on the Gophers. We'll catch up on all things Badgers with our dude, Mr. RJ Cardinal, coming up around 8:20, 8:25 here this morning. Lots to talk about, not only with basketball, but the latest and some more of the transfer portal kids coming over for the Badger football team as well. So we'll chat up with RJ on that. Coming up about 8:25 here this morning. Morning, Morgs.
Hey, day 3, still fresh. Do you have any New Year's resolutions to share with the class?
No, I think New Year's and Valentine's are the two most overrated holidays out there. So
You can make a resolution to not celebrate Valentine's Day.
I don't.
There you go.
I don't. I think it's worthless.
It is. Well, it's not that it's worthless.
It is worthless.
The gesture of appreciation, affection, love, that's not
Should do
worthless.
that 365, not just one.
Plus a good steak. I'm not opposed. It's not worthless, but it definitely is, I would say, complete creation. It's manufactured.
Oh, it's a greeting card holiday.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's a commercial holiday.
And New Year's, I mean, same thing. Let's just jack up prices to go drink when we can do it any other day.
Amateur night.
So, yeah.
So on that note, though, do you know anybody that does set New Year's resolutions that is like a brand new page turner, or anybody in your circle that has some resolutions?
Not in my circle, but I see it on Facebook once in a while.
Okay.
But I don't know if they actually follow through.
Now, that's what I'm getting to. It's day 3. You're like, okay, the bright, shiny fun is kind of like still there with New Year's resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a person that likes to see people post that, or are you an eye roller groaner? Oh my God, give it up. You're going to be the same person in 18 days that you are.
Pretty much, yeah.
You're a let it go kind of guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. So,
is there anything interesting or neat that you've seen? Not just like, I'm going to get healthier, but like an actual, like, hey, that is kind of a good one. Right now in stats, they say that the biggest New Year's resolution that people are latching onto this year, 2023, that's different from the previous years, is they're making financial goals. Because everybody was hit a little bit harder, everything costs a little bit more, so then financial goals are part of this year.
Yeah.
Which means, hey, probably a lot of people not spending for Valentine's Day, taking the Dan Kasper approach here.
They should.
So
you make your own card.
There you
Make
go.
your own card.
We should have a homemade card making party.
Have your 5-year-old make it for you.
Macaroni and glitter.
Yeah.
Speaking of, how'd you wrap up a good holiday season? What was the winter gift from Santa in the Kasper household?
I would say either the Bat Tech. It's a huge Batman thing.
Okay.
He loves his marble track. Got like a marble track. He likes building that sort of thing. And I would say those are probably the top 2.
There's a time-intensive, labor-intensive, don't lose the pieces kind of game.
Yeah, and the marbles are all over the damn floor right now.
I could have told you that. That's a rookie move, buddy.
Yeah.
That and getting Operation. You're going to lose that wishbone every time.
Oh, it's that. And he got probably 200 Pokemon cards, too.
So,
yeah.
Rookie moves,
man.
Yeah.
So.
But happy kids. That's the trade-off.
Exactly.
Gotta love that part.
Know it. All right. Have a good one. Thanks, Morgs.
Anytime.
All right, here we go. Second hour kicking off this morning. Appreciate you tuning in, however you're tuning in, wherever you may be tuning in. Coming up, we'll get back to some more green and gold chats. Speaking of football, there has not been any latest updates surrounding Damar Hamlin. In case you're just joining us, and we talked a little bit about it in the first hour at the open. But if anything else kind of comes through update wise, we'll pass that along. But definitely a very, very scary situation last night, and hoping for the best for Damar Hamlin. We'll also get to a little bit of hoops talk here in just a minute. Bucks back in action tonight. Also, Badger Hoops will be back in action, taking on the Gophers. Before all that, though, let's do some sports nuggets. Brought to you by ANSI Insurance. 1941, the National Collegiate Football Rules Committee announced a new rule that permitted free substitution of football players. How about that, huh? 1983, Tony Dorsett, when he was with the Cowboys, made the longest run from scrimmage in NFL history. Dorsett ran 99 yards in a game against the Minnesota Vikings. Wayne Gretzky, 1991, scored his 700th goal. We've got 2010. Chris Johnson set the NFL single-season record for yards from scrimmage. He had finished the season with 2,509. Also, same day, same year, Tony Romo set a team record when he took every snap for the entire regular season for the Dallas Cowboys. Those are just some of your sports nuggets of the day, again, brought to you by ANSI Insurance. We'll get you the answer to our Tuesday pop quiz question coming up. Whoops, almost just broke the computer. Coming up after this upcoming break here. But if you're just joining us. But if you're just joining us, the pop quiz, the Tuesday pop quiz question of the day was Edgar Bennett, and this is because Aaron Jones got his third 1,000-yard rushing season, third in the last four. But Edgar Bennett in 1995 rushed for over 1,000 yards, just barely 1,067. But he was the first Packer to rush over 1,000 yards since who? And in what year? Who and what year? You can text us, 715-830-1912, tweet or Facebook. And try not to cheat. Try not to cheat. Have a little fun with this. Try not to look it up. Give me some answers. Okay? All right, Bucks back in action tonight. Going to be taking on the Wizards again, trying to avenge their loss from Sunday night. But Bucks have been in a pretty noticeable skid as of late. Struggling. They really struggled that week leading up to Christmas, losing to Cleveland. By the way, Cleveland, speaking of Cleveland, Mitchell putting up 71 points. Donovan Mitchell, 71 points, the most since Kobe did his 81. But and then Klay Thompson, 54 points last night. So it was a scoring affair. Holy moly. But we got the tip-off tonight, 7 o'clock. Excuse me, I couldn't get that out. 7 o'clock against the Wizards. No Chris Middleton, it sounds like, again. Doesn't sound like he's going to be out there again. He's already listed as out. Drew Holiday listed as out. Giannis was listed as still listed as day-to-day along with George Hill. So hopefully Bucks will be a little bit more healthier for this game going up against the Wizards. Giannis is probable, and so is George Hill. So it sounds like, and then Drew Holiday actually is probable too. So if you're looking at the latest updates, even though Drew Holiday is listed as out on status, the injury report that was released by the Bucks yesterday has Holiday as probable. But Middleton will not play in either of the back-to-back series for this Washington Wizards game. That was according to Eric Nehm of The Athletic. So Bucks will get a little bit more healthy tonight. They will get a little bit more healthy tonight with Giannis and Drew Holiday coming back, it sounds like. So hopefully they can get back to their get back to their winning ways here a little bit. After tonight, they got a quick trip up north to Toronto. Then they're back home against Charlotte. And then next week, they're going to be on the road for a few games. They got the Knicks on Monday, Atlanta, Miami, and then Miami. So they'll be on the road all of next week. If you're looking at the current standings in the Eastern Conference, Bucks are still holding on to that 3 spot by the slimmest of margins. Cleveland got the win last night. Cleveland's also 2.5 back from Boston, who's still holding on to that first seed. But because of win percentage, right now Milwaukee has a slight advantage with a 639 win percentage. Cleveland's at a 632. Milwaukee 23-13, Cleveland 24-14. Brooklyn continues to stay hot, though. They got another win last night. They have won 12 in a row. 12 in a row for the Brooklyn Nets. They're 1 game back from Boston for first place. So they are just on fire right now. Fire. Other hoops, we've got Badgers, who have moved up to 14th in the latest AP poll rankings. They will get back in action and pick back up their Big Ten portion of the schedule as they take on the Gophers of Minnesota. If you're taking a look at their upcoming schedule here for the Gophers, or for the Badgers, they got the Gophers and they have Illinois after that. I know Illinois is kind of, they came in really hot this year, highly ranked, and they've kind of fallen down a little bit there, but, still be a tough test there. And then after that, Michigan State coming to Madison. That's always a tough test there. And then Indiana. Next Saturday, the 14th. Indiana also moving up 1 spot in the latest rankings. So they're up at 15th right now. If you're looking at, kind of looking ahead to their schedules, they got Ohio State, who's ranked 24th, February 2nd. Rutgers, who just got the big win against number 1 Purdue last night. Wisconsin doesn't play them until February, it looks like. And then they don't play Purdue until March 2nd. So if you're kind of looking at maybe some of the, at least right now, ranked opponents on the Badger schedule, because that'll change. It most likely will change here. Teams will fall in, move up, that sort of thing. So, but Minnesota, Illinois, then they got Michigan State next week in Indiana. So next week could be kind of interesting. Michigan State's going to be a tough game. Is at the Kohl Center. Then you've got they got to go to Indiana for that one. But kind of this is like now it's like, okay, we're in January, back to conference play here. This is when it kind of really picks up. It's like, okay, now we go. Now we get going here for some college hoops action. Now we get it going. You're looking at the top team. I mean, there's been a lot of movements within college basketball and the top teams so far in these rankings. I mean, you remember at the beginning of the year, UNC, North Carolina, highly ranked. They have been just, not good. And, that's why when we get to these rankings, everybody kind of chuckles. And I get it why North Carolina was ranked so highly at the beginning, because they pretty much had everybody back from last year's team. But for whatever reason, it was just nothing. It hasn't been working out. Purdue's probably going to drop now, getting their first loss of the season. Houston's at number 2. Kansas at number 3. Man, can you imagine if Wisconsin would have gotten that win against Kansas back in November? Wisconsin and everything else played out the same. Wisconsin's probably at least a top 10 team, right? In the rankings. Wisconsin's at least got to be a top 10. I mean, that's a big signature win right there. If everything else played out, Kansas still, everything else played out the same after that game. Same for Wisconsin. They would have to be a top 10 team, I think. But you got UConn at 4, Arizona 5, Texas 6, Alabama 7, Tennessee 8. The Zags got Gonzaga's at 9, UCLA at 10, Virginia 11, the U, Miami at 12, Arkansas 13, and then Wisconsin coming in at 14. Wisconsin is the second highest Big Ten team behind Purdue in the rankings. You got Indiana right behind them as well. Ohio State coming in at 24 on there too. I'm looking at some of the other rankings. Illinois was in the category of others receiving votes. Marquette in the category of others receiving votes. Michigan State got a few on there, it looks like, too. But other than that, not a whole lot of representation right now from the Big Ten. Besides Purdue, I mean, they're the top of the class, no doubt about it. Cream of the crop, right? Cream of the crop, Randy. Then you got Wisconsin there and Indiana and then Ohio State. So, but that tip-off for the Badgers tonight at 8 o'clock. So get the Badger game on TV. Listen to the Bucks game tonight on the radio. 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Again, Bucks coverage will begin at about 6:30. Tip-off slated to schedule around 7. Although we know they're never always exact when it comes to the schedule or the scheduled time for hoops. So supposed to be at 7. Probably will be a few minutes after that. All right, let's talk a little bit more green and gold. We'll chat with Joe. Then after that, reminder, we've got special announcement coming up at 7:45, around 7:45. So make sure you're tuning in to hear our little announcements at 7:45. You won't want to miss that, okay? Promise, you won't want to miss that. But let's take a quick break here, and we'll chat some more green and gold coming up after these few words. Don't forget to subscribe to the Man Cave podcast on your favorite podcasting platforms. That's like Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, Odyssey, you name it. Or just check it out at sportstalk1051.com or the Sports Talk app, brought to you by Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford. We got portions of the program that are up there and new and original content as well. So we'll get another episode up shortly after we shut the mics off here this morning. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast because, well, it's free, and that way you'll never miss another episode. And depending on your podcasting platform, if you have that ability to rate it or review it, give us a solid rating or review on there so other people can find that podcast as well. Big thanks for that. All right. For everybody who chimed in on our Tuesday pop quiz question, which was Edgar Bennett, 1995, rushed for 1,067 yards for the Green Bay Packers. He was the first running back since who to rush for over 1,000 yards, and in what year? If you predicted Mr. Middleton, Terdell Middleton in 1978, you would be correct. 1,116 yards. So for those of you who did cheat, well done. If you didn't look it up, well done. But it took from 1978 to 1995 when Bennett did it. A long stretch there where the Packers didn't have any 1,000-yard rushers in there. In fact, I think the highest one on here is Gary Ellis in 1981 with 860 on there. So congrats to everybody who got it without looking it up on there. C-Bomb at least admitted he looked it up and cheated on there. So let's chat some more green and gold here this morning as we have been throughout the week here. But Packers, obviously, we know what time they play now. Sunday night, prime time, taking on the Lions. Lions might be out of it by the time they kick off, depending on that Seattle and Rams game there. But doesn't matter in Green Bay sense. They got to win, take care of their own business. And so let's break it down here a little bit with Joe DeGuano. Joe, I mean, let's be honest here. You didn't think they'd be in this position. A lot of people didn't think they'd be in this position. Yet here they are. Why are they in this position? How did they get here besides the help from, the Browns and all that sort of stuff?
Well, first of all, Happy New Year, Captain.
You too.
So I want to get that out. I want to get that out of the way. Also, secondly, I would have gotten the Terdell Middleton answer without cheating, and not only were 1,000-yard rushing seasons sparse between those years, but also wins. Mm-hmm. And so it was quite the dry spell for the Green Bay Packers during that tenure. But getting back to the current Green Bay Packer team, why are they here today? And again, like you said, they had to get help from other teams, which they did. But there's a couple of things, and I think obviously you got to point to Joe Barry's adjustments, and we've scorched him this year. We've ripped on him this year, and I think you got to give credit where credit is due. And in the presser after the game, they talked about the process they went through to get to this scheme for Sunday's game. And Joe Barry approached Rasul Douglas and Jair Alexander and asked them, what do they want to do? They both said, man up. And then Barry put it back to the players and said, which one of you is going to take Jefferson? And Jair said it was going to be him. And so, and again, I think Matt LaFleur, you always look at the head coach as he's got to have a global perspective. And I think Matt LaFleur has interjected himself a little bit with Joe Barry there. And so, that's the first thing. Ever since halftime of the Dolphin game, you've seen a different secondary. And Jerry Gray, it was reported, ripped into the defensive backs at halftime of that Miami game. And it looks like it's carried over. They're playing aggressive. They're playing fundamentally sound. They're playing assignment sure. So, that's the first thing you point to. Secondly is the Christian Watson effect. And when you've got a guy, and he only caught one pass on Sunday, but several deep shots down the field. And when you've got a guy that can do that, and we've talked about it, taking the cover off the defense so that now you're playing a two-safety shell, and you can't bring another safety up into the box, now you're more effective in the running game. So I think Christian Watson effect, him being healthy and being on the field, has had a huge trickle-down effect on that offense. And then thirdly, Keyshawn Nixon. You just can't put a value on what he's done this year for the Green Bay Packers. And I go back to the 96 Super Bowl year, and Ron Wolf wisely kept Desmond Howard on the roster. And in that playoff run, especially in the Super Bowl where he was named MVP, the Packers might not win that if it's not for Desmond Howard. So, I think those are the three areas which you really need to point to, and that's Joe Barry and where he's taken this defense and the adjustments he's made, Keyshawn Nixon, and the Christian Watson effect on offense.
We take a look at this defense in the last couple of weeks, or last few weeks, how you want to look at it. Obviously they have struggled with the run quite a bit throughout the majority part of the year, but the last couple of weeks they've seemed to have gotten a little bit better. And you take a look at that defensive line. Kenny Clark has shown up, but Reed probably has his best game as a Packer in Miami. TJ Slayton probably has his best game as a Packer this past week here. Devontae Wyatt had the second most snaps of all the defensive linemen amongst Packers in this previous game. What have you seen from this defensive line group in these last few weeks, and have they been a big part of this overall improvement on the defense?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, TJ Slayton is really starting to show. Wyatt's starting to show. And it's interesting, Captain, because the one thing that I think we've learned with LaFleur is that maybe he doesn't interject himself early enough. And you look back and you say to yourself, okay, Amari Rodgers, why did he last that long in that position? And I guarantee you, if Keyshawn Nixon was returning kicks all along and Amari Rodgers wasn't, I think the Packers are guaranteed a playoff spot right now. And so the same holds true for the defensive line, because for all the complaints about Dean Lowry, I get it. He's a pretty consistent guy. All right. He's been an Iron Man. He's been out there. He doesn't get hurt. I get all those things, but his ceiling is low when you look at in comparison to guys like Wyatt and Slayton. And so I think again, when you've got guys all of a sudden saying, okay, now you need to play TJ Slayton, now you need to play Wyatt, and now they're making plays. And so I think LaFleur has taken a little bit of the safe route too, and been taking too long to pull guys that maybe shouldn't be in there. So yeah, that defensive line has stepped up. Now again, it's going to be a different game this weekend because Detroit, they've got a really good offensive line. And it played right into the Packers' favor on Sunday because not only did they lose their first-string center, their second-string center, they were playing with a third-string center, and the Packers were able to get a lot of pressure, especially up the middle, with just four down linemen. Now, the other thing that Joe Barry did this past week that he's not going to be able to do is on passing situations, he widened the tackles out even more. He put TJ Slayton at that nose, and he put Kenny Clark at the three technique. And so it was harder to double team Kenny Clark at that point. Now again, it's going to be tougher this week because the Lions' offensive line and what they do, it's one of the best in the league. And I think Dan Campbell has that unit playing at peak performance right now. So what they did against Minnesota may not work against Detroit. But again, give credit where credit is due, and I think they've made the adjustments on that defensive line to get them where they are today.
Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning, chatting some green and gold. You mentioned that with that offensive line. You mentioned it. I was saying it after the game or even during the game, and I know everybody's like on the Packers bandwagon right now, but I'm like, please don't overlook Detroit. Please. It's not like Detroit has 2 wins or 3 wins. I mean, they're in this thing too. And you look at their offense. I mean, they got St. Brown at wideout. I mean, my favorite non-Packer, Jamal Williams, is 4 yards from 1,000 yards, and he's been a red zone threat. 15 rushing touchdowns. Jared Goff hasn't thrown a pick since Week 9 when they played against the Packers. Right now, I mean, this is an offense that's legit. And I know the Packers have gone up against a couple of offenses that have been legit. But, I mean, how do they slow this group down then? How do they slow down the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, you've hit it on the head, Captain. And honestly, if this game were being played in Detroit, I'd probably tip the scales in favor of the Lions. And, and I haven't done it recently, but I looked a couple of weeks ago, and at one point, Goff had 20 touchdown passes. Matter of fact, it was the top touchdown pass thrower on home turf. So he had 20 touchdown passes at home and 2 away. And so Jared Goff is not the same quarterback when he's playing away. And so, yeah, I think I think Green Bay, the key to them playing defense this week, and it sounds cliche, but is to play offense. And by that, I mean this. Detroit, even though they absolutely killed Chicago, they still gave up 200 yards rushing. And so you need to control the clock. You need to control the line of scrimmage. Keep that Detroit Lion offense off the field. Have them playing from behind. Dominate the time of possession, and you're going to win the football game. And again, Jared Goff, not the same quarterback away that he is at home. And Dan Campbell, I think, has done a tremendous job. And like I said, this game is a 4.5-point spread right now, and you get 3 points for being the home team. And so it's basically a 1.5-point spread for the Green Bay Packers. And if this game were in Detroit, it'd probably switch over to have Detroit being favored. And if this game were being played in Detroit, I might pick Detroit. I think Green Bay is going to win this game. And again, which I had no indication of, no clue of, that this team had it in them. And I think this says a lot about Matt LaFleur, that he's kept the ship afloat. And where this team is today, I think it's a lot to do with what's happening behind the scenes in that locker room and in that coaching room. And so, yeah, going back to it, though, I always thought Detroit was going to be a tougher game for the Green Bay Packers than Minnesota. And I think Dan Campbell's a heck of a coach. I think he's done a tremendous job. These aren't your parents' Detroit Lions. I think they're a team on the up and up. And on the up and rising, and I think that this is going to be a tough game. Now, that being said, I see Green Bay winning this game by about 5, and so I think it's going to be a tough game. The interesting thing about the schedule is Packers Lions Sunday night. The Lions, like you said, they might be out of it already if Seattle wins that game in the 12 o'clock game that day, or the earlier game, and so it's going to be interesting. But I wouldn't count Dan Campbell out, even if there's nothing to play for, because Dan Campbell's the kind of coach that can find motivation anywhere. If his motivation is simply, let's knock Green Bay out of the playoffs, they're going to play for him, and they're going to play hard for him. And I think they've shown that game in, game out, and through this season, Dan Campbell's the real deal.
That's why I agree with you. I know there were some people saying, well, this is a huge advantage for Green Bay because, if the Lions come into this knowing that they're out of it, well, how much will they actually, have momentum or energy to play this thing? And I'm like, but I think Dan Campbell's kind of the wild card on that. They'll find some way to play. I mean, come on now. They want to end the season on a high note. They know this is their last game, and they don't want Green Bay to go to this. So I don't necessarily buy that factor that this is a huge advantage for Green Bay.
I agree. Look, I think Green Bay needs to play their best football. And I think, like I said, I think they need to control the clock. I think they need to continue doing what they've been doing over the last several weeks, not overlook Detroit, not come in expecting to win, regardless of what happens in the Seattle game. Because I just think Dan Campbell is that X factor. He's the coach. And I would come out of retirement and play for Dan Campbell right now. I mean, he's the kind of guy that you just say, man, that's the kind of coach I want to play for. And you look at that, you look at this Detroit team, and they bought in. And when you have a program, I don't care what level you're at. I don't care if it's youth football. I don't care if it's high school, college, or pros. When you're buying into a program, magical things can happen. And so regardless of what happens in that Seattle game, I think Green Bay, again, is going to be in for a tough fight. I think they're going to win it in the end. And I think, players like Rodgers and Mason Crosby and, some of these guys who have been here now a long time, I think experience in these types of situations are going to win out. And like I said, I think Green Bay covers, but just barely.
Can this style of offense by the Packers where, Rodgers maybe throws for 20 sometimes, maybe he eclipses 200, maybe it's just a little over 200 yards, but they've strictly focused on, getting A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones the ball. They spread the ball out a little bit. But can this style of offense, if they get to the postseason, can they get through the postseason playing the style of offense where Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to do too much, where he's only throwing for 200 yards or 210 with one touchdown? Is this enough? Can they make a run with this style of offense?
Absolutely. Look, and we've been saying this now for a long time, ever since the Devontae Adams trade, and when you see this Matt LaFleur offense, and when you saw the emergence of Dillon over the last couple of years, and you see what Aaron Jones can do. Look, it's been done before. John Elway did it 2 years in a row to end his career. He no longer was John Elway. and he no longer was the gunslinging John Elway. And John Elway was 0-4 in Super Bowls until those final two. And that was because he had a great defense and he had Terrell Davis. And he knew at that point that the offense needed to run through Davis and the defense was going to make plays. And so there's no question that if Green Bay gets into the playoffs, that they can make some noise. Matter of fact, I'll say it right now. If Green Bay gets in the playoffs, I think they win at least one game. I think this team is starting to gel. And look, there's a lot of teams that have won the Super Bowl that didn't start out the year looking that great. Now, again, I go back to the last Packers Super Bowl, and they were 8-6, and they had to beat the Giants, and then they had to beat the Bears. They also had to have just Deshaun Jackson return a punt for a touchdown against the Giants the last game of the season. And then the Packers went on the road for 3 straight games to make it to the Super Bowl. And so, yeah, I think this team can make some noise. I think this team could be successful in the playoffs. But that being said, I don't want to overlook this Sunday night because I still think that this is going to be a tougher game than a lot of Packer fans feel.
All right, so kind of looking at this game to start wrapping this up here. So how, if you're Joe Barry, what is your game plan? Do you try to get after Jared Goff? You mentioned it, the offensive line play from Detroit. They're a solid group up there. Do you try to bring extra blitzers? Or do how do you try to slow this group down? I mean, are you putting Jair on St. Brown kind of like how we did with Jefferson? What would be your game plan?
Yeah, I would first of all, I'd start Jefferson on St. Brown. I think that, and I'd be physical again. I think St. Brown has a lot of similarities to Jefferson, and you saw, they were very physical, press coverage type of thing. So I do that. I do think with the Lions, you do need to bring some extra heat and throw Jared Goff off the spot. That pressure from the middle that really got Kirk Cousins rattled. And I think if you can bring pressure up the middle, one of the things I've liked over the last several weeks is how they've started using Quay Walker a little bit more in the blitz game. And I think that's where you're going to see it. One of the other things that I wouldn't mind seeing, it's been a while since the blitz came off the slot. And so if you're bringing now, if you put, say, Sewell in the slot, or you put Jair in the slot, and then you bring him. And so now you're mixing and matching some of those secondary blitzes that are coming in. I just don't see Jared Goff as the kind of guy that is going to be consistent, especially away from Ford Field. And so if you can get him off his mark, and again, be physical with these receivers for the Lions. I think it showed that the Packers, between Rasul Douglas and Jair Alexander, can be very physical at the line of scrimmage. And if you throw the timing off, Goff is not, Jared Goff is still Jared Goff, regardless of, the inconsistencies are there. You look on tape, there's ways to rattle him. And I think, again, you do that again, I think you're going to win this football game. But, I'll flip it over, though. I'll continue to say this. The key to this game is the Packer offense. If the Packer offense stays on the field, and if they continue to play from in front, again, the Packers lost the Lions. The game was 15-9. And that's a game where Aaron Rodgers throws 3 picks, which just doesn't happen a lot. And so that was a winnable game for the Green Bay Packers back when they played before. And I know both teams aren't the same, but I think the key to this game is to continue to use that offense to the best of your advantages and keep Jared Goff off the field.
Mm-hmm. Joe, to wrap it, kind of switching gears here a little bit, since you already picked the Packers to win, but it's been a couple weeks, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Were you a little bit surprised, or not really, that they did agree to an extension with Elton Jenkins a couple of weeks ago, giving him that big contract? I know you and I kind of touched on it. That's a decision that they were going to have to make, but you factor in Bakhtiari's cap hit for next year. Now Elton Jenkins under a big deal. We know Aaron Rodgers' contract. Aaron Jones has a big cap hit. Were you surprised they actually got this thing done a little bit?
You know what? The more the season went on, and the more Elton Jenkins started rounding back into shape, especially at the guard position, I wasn't, because he was the one guy that if you're going to do something in year to use that extra year of cap hit, it was going to be him. Now, it's interesting you asked this, because I actually was on Sport Track last night, and the Packers right now are projected to be about $9 million over the cap. Now, again, there's some restructures that need to be done there, and some other things that can get done, and of course will get done if you're the Green Bay Packers. But yeah, I think Elton Jenkins has rounded back into all pro shape, especially at that guard position. And now you're seeing a guy like Zach Tom, and you saw Josh Nijman, and you've got more depth coming up there. But again, I think Elton Jenkins, when healthy, arguably is one of the best guards in the NFL. And I'm not going to talk about the tackle position, but it was interesting as a caveat to this, Captain. There's the bonus structure of Elton Jenkins' deal. He gets certain bonuses if he gets accolades all Pro Bowl at the tackle position. And his contract, the second richest for guards, but also the eighth richest or most rich for tackles. And so interesting structure. And again, I think Bakhtiari looked really good on Sunday, and I don't want to write him off either. Don't be surprised if maybe Bakhtiari does something with a contract restructure. I think Aaron Jones is going to be in line for that. I think even Aaron Rodgers could do a restructure. So I'm glad they got it done. He was the one guy, and it's interesting when you look at this offseason for the Green Bay Packers. I think the one guy they got to sign now is Keyshawn Nixon. And when you look at the eligible free agents for the Green Bay Packers, it's really Nixon, probably Lazard, Tunyon. Those are the question marks, but I think Nixon is number one this offseason. But again, I'm glad they got it done. Spread that extra year out for Jenkins.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. All right, well, appreciate the time, and hopefully next week when you're back on, we're talking about a playoff matchup, 2-7 matchup there, Joseph. So big thanks for the time, and you have a good rest of the week, sir.
All right, you too, brother. Take care, man.
You got it. There you go. There's Joe DeGuano joining us here for a little bit. We got to take a quick break, and then it's announcement time. Big announcement. We got a nice little fun announcement coming up here. So make sure you're sticking around for these next few minutes. But we'll take that first break, and then finish up the second hour before we chat some Steel, and then we've got some Badger chat with RJ Cardinal coming up around 8:25 as well. So we'll be back after these few words. We got about 6 minutes to the top of the hour here. Again, reminder, maybe make sure that you're paying attention to the weather out there. We got some school closings and delay, or I should say more delays here this morning. But you can head to our website, sportstalk1051.com, for the latest closings and delays, brought to you by Hovland's and Service Master of Chippewa Valley. Maybe some schools closing a little bit earlier today or tomorrow or anything like that. So coming up just past 8 o'clock, we'll catch up with the Chippewa Steel as they're back in action. Then after that, RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, will be joining us at about 8:25 to talk about the Badger Hoops game between the Gophers tonight and recapping the bowl game and talking a little bit about another quarterback coming to the Wisconsin Badgers. Before that, though, special announcement time, and to help us, we've got Mr. Mike from Mike Star Market. Good morning, Mike.
Morning, Dan.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing well. So we got a few people kind of, I don't know why, but they're guessing like what this big announcement is going to be. We didn't tell them it was you or anything like that. We just were teasing, hey, we got a fun announcement. So people have been having some fun with this sort of thing. Like, oh, you're moving, or, you're doing this or something like that. But it's more fun than what we got planned is more fun than all that, because
I hope it's fun.
I think it is. We're gonna have some brats coming.
So what was it? Yeah, we got a few brats coming. So
Yeah.
what was the best thing you got? Just
The best thing I
moving
got, I was going national.
national. Oh,
Yeah,
national.
National.
That'd be
That was
cool.
the best one out
That'd
there.
be big time. That'd be
So
fun.
maybe we need to talk to the bosses or something like that. Get a little bit bigger like that. Well, now with
I'm
you
sure-
maybe we can get a little national.
I wouldn't hold my breath on that
No.
one.
But the cool thing is, so we kind of talked about it was a couple months ago already, but after your busy time, because deer hunting season's in the books. You're probably still catching up from deer season and that right
Oh
now.
yeah. It'll be a while before we completely catch up, but we're better now. The deer are caught.
Mm-hmm.
We're fairly, happy. As
Right.
happy as we can be.
Exactly. Christmas wrapping up, so
Yeah.
now it's like this is the time to
That's
announce.
right.
And we were actually going to do it at the Doododge, but the weather forced us to kind of postpone that event. But we're going to announce right now that we've got a couple of brats, custom brats, or one's going to be the Man Cave Light brat, I should say, that we're going to put together here.
Yeah, we're going to use. We decided to use your beer in a brat.
Mm-hmm.
Call it a Man Cave brat. I guess that's the best thing to go for it. And
Right.
then, I think we're going to let your listeners come
Yep.
up with an idea for a spicier brat or a fun brat that they
Mm-hmm.
would be interested in doing.
Exactly. So coming up at 8 o'clock, if you have an idea for a flavor or a recipe or whatever, on our website at sportstalk1051.com, if you click on the Nation tab, you're going to be able to suggest a flavor or a recipe on there. And if you got a good one on there and we select that, you're going to win a gift card too. So that'll be a lot of fun to kind of get some creative ideas out there.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of creative ideas. We have people come in the shop all the time going, can you make this brat? Have you ever thought of making this brat? Have you ever thought of doing this and that? And, it's kind of fun. Once in a while, we'll pick an item that a customer does for mainly venison. They want it made out of their venison. So we'll try it in that. And it's like, hey, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
So then we'll just go ahead and make it.
What has been like, I might put you on a spot here. Has there been like a really crazy one that somebody's came up to you, or you created a really crazy one that's kind of stood out to you or sticks you in your head?
The craziest one that we had come up to us was a guy out of his venison. He wanted a jalapeno cranberry cheese summer sausage.
Really?
Now, we thought that was just bizarre. So we're like, sure, we can make it. It's not hard to do. So we made it, and it's like, this is really good. Odd combination, but it's really good.
Yeah.
So now we actually feature that in the shop.
I feel like there's like a lot of brats lately. You're seeing some weird combos, but once you try them, they're actually really, really good. You know what I mean? Like the last few years, it seems like that's kind of risen up there a little bit.
Yeah, the whole brat craze is kind of taken off. From my perspective, you could turn anything into a brat. I don't know if you're familiar with the show Chopped on TV.
Oh yeah, yep.
But I always joke when I watch that you take that basket, I'm just gonna make a brat out of it. Somebody's gonna eat it.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
now I'm gonna think about that every time I see that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, you can make a brat out of this.
That's awesome.
So.
And also we're thinking about doing some snack sticks too. It sounds
yeah,
like
we're thinking about a flavor of snack sticks. I don't know if listeners have some suggestions. We're open to it. We have a lot of them. It's not hard to make a snack stick. We're gonna try batch of snack sticks for
Mm-hmm.
one of my coworkers. See how it works. I'm not going to say what kind it is because I don't know if it's going to work yet or not.
Yeah.
Like everything else, is it going to work or not?
You dropped off jalapeno cheese snack sticks. I'm a spicy guy on there, so I like the spicy stuff on there. And then we got the salami sticks on there too. With ice fishing coming up, it's a good snack to head out on the ice and kind of load it up that way.
Oh yeah, just grab them, go take them anywhere you want.
Yeah.
Sit at home, watch the football games, dice them up, put them in a platter, whatever you want to do with them.
Right, exactly. Now I see, like when I was because I know we only got a couple minutes left here, but on your Facebook page there, you got sometimes you'll announce specials or anything like that, kind of coming through. Is that a good way for people to kind of keep updated on maybe some specials that you got going on or some shipments of some new cuts coming in here?
Facebook has been our best platform to move stuff. We can put out just stuff like today or tomorrow, whatever we want to do. And then people seem to follow us pretty good. We have a crazy following for stuff we put on special. It's amazing when we put it on Facebook how much we move. And
you do so much for the local community on here too. And that's what the nice thing here with the brat too, it's going to help Backyard Dreams. Our charity.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that because we work with some of the schools now for fundraisers and baseball in the summertime, mainly Jeffers Park.
Yep, Miracle League over there and that.
Yep, that's through my coworker Matt, or my employee Matt, I should say. He's big into baseball, and so he got us into that, so that helps a lot.
And I know my little guy, that's where he plays t-ball over there too. So that'll be a lot of fun over there too. So that's the other great part of this too, is that the sales of these brats are going to go help Backyard Dreams and help these kiddos out in our area too. And that's something that you guys have done a lot with, is our local community.
Yeah, we try to work with the community, like I say, with all the schools and things like that, fundraisers. It's been a big thing. And with our fundraisers for schools, it's all been brats.
Yeah,
they love it. I mean,
it's
who in Wisconsin doesn't like a brat?
Exactly. So, well, Mike, again, we're going to make some brats. Well, one of them is going to be the Man Cave Lights beer, and then we're looking for some suggestions for some of our listeners. Just go to our website, sportstalk1051.com. That should be up any minute now. We'll put it up on Facebook too. We'll share it on Facebook. We'll tag you guys on there.
Yeah, tag us. I think I'm going to have Sarah work on our Facebook page and kind of tie it all in together. So.
Perfect. Sounds good. So we'll post that up there. If you have any creative ideas, send those babies on over. We want to get creative. Mike, this
very
is
creative.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, man.
I think it's going to be great.
I can't wait to get this thing started. So big thank you for partnering with us and helping support Backyard Dreams too.
Yeah, thanks for giving us a chance. We look forward to doing this.
Awesome. Well, get those submissions in. All right. We gotta take a break right now, because coming up next, we're going to chat with the Chip with Steel. I think Coach Casey's out there. We'll catch up with him, and then we'll throw a little Badgers chat in there too. All right, final hour kicking off on this Tuesday morning. Big thanks, everybody, for tuning in, however, wherever you may be tuning in. We're going to catch up on some Badger stuff with RJ Cardinal coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk about the Badger Gopher basketball game tonight, recap the bowl game from last week, another transfer quarterback coming to Wisconsin as well. But before that, as we do every Tuesday, we catch up with our good buddy, Coach Casey from the Chippewa Steel. Did you have a good holiday? Good
morning.
Good break?
Yeah, it was good. It was nice to get home and see some family and friends, and I missed the Arctic chill that was here.
You're lucky,
I mean,
man.
pretty much to the day, but
yeah.
So it's all good. Glad to be back.
Awesome. Well, before we were talking a little bit off the air, but I mean, we got to mention, because you've been talking about Adam, your goalie, quite a bit, and that had to have been quite a moment last night. In case anybody doesn't know, he made 52 saves. You said against Canada, because he was playing for, was it Slovakia?
Yep.
And 52 saves last. I mean, that's so. It's kind of explain for anybody who maybe doesn't know what he was playing in, and just That's I have to imagine it had to have been just for a young man to have that type of moment to play at that level. That's got to be a career thing for him so far.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a little bit surreal, to be honest. Seeing him wear his helmet, Chippewa Steel helmet on that stage. But yeah, I was playing in the World Junior tournament. I mean, it's the best players their age throughout the country and the world, and it's 10 nations go. And this year the tournament was in Halifax and Moncton, Nova Scotia. And Adam wasn't selected to be a part of the team originally, and then we made the deal with Green Bay, and he went up there for a couple weekends and played well. And the teams that already reported to Slovakia and the goaltending situation up there, they weren't super happy with, I guess, and decided to bring him in late. And I mean, he didn't play in any of the pre-tournament games. He practiced like one or two times, but one of the coaches on the Slovakian staff is the assistant coach of Vermont that I know a little bit, and we text just briefly, and he just said, I mean, it was clear as day in practice, like how talented he was. So they lost the first game. And I don't think they were super happy with the performances they got in net, and they put him in against the United States. And I mean, it was all him from there on, and he beat the US and had a shutout against Latvia, and then last night playing Team Canada with, first overall, second overall, potentially in this year's draft, and Connor Bedard, and Fantilli plays at Michigan. I mean, he was outstanding yet again. And they lost in overtime, but it was quite a performance and just an amazing story.
I mean, I know you've talked about him a few times on this program, but I mean, just in the last few months of where he was, where he first started, when he came with you guys, to kind of what he's doing right now. I mean, for a young man, I can't imagine. It has to be a whirlwind, type of thing going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, from September 1st until last night, I mean, it's been a whirlwind is a good way to put it. I mean, he put himself on the radar with his performance with us for the NHL and for the draft. I mean, with his performance over the last week, I mean, it's not a matter of if, it's just going to be when he gets selected this summer in the draft. And, for us and our staff and scouting staff, guys that work, super hard for us, and Steve Williams, Brandon Ferns, couple guys that we have that are just, workhorses, for us to be able to enjoy this, as a group. And it's just really, really awesome, and just couldn't be more excited and proud of the kid. I mean, it's just incredible. Just proves that, there's different paths for everybody, right? To get somewhere. I mean, again, September 1st, nobody knew this kid's name.
Right.
and here we are, January 3rd, and he's arguably, besides Connor Bedard and him breaking every scoring record at the tournament, he's arguably the second most exciting player there. So it's just terrific.
That's awesome. So great story. If you want to, I mean, Steele does a fantastic job of always sharing it on social media and on Twitter and that. So make sure you're following them on there for the latest updates and some great, like you mentioned, the picture. I mean, that'd be kind of cool to see him with that jersey and, you know, the mask, but the pads and everything, that your green color on there too, representing there a little bit.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was we were a little frustrated at times with just you know, the maybe lack of recognition for the organization, but you know what, at the end of the day, Bob McKenzie yesterday during the broadcast was very accurate and correcting in some people. And you know what, for us, it's important that the people who know or need to know that Adam you know, has played most of the season for us, and that's all that really matters.
Right, definitely. So coming up this week, you're going on the road to Janesville, going up against one of your rivals, in-state rivals, right there too. So, kind of give us a little preview on that, because in the standings have gone back and forth since last time we've talked here a little bit. But this is an opportunity again to rise back up here, right? Going up against Janesville. Would you say there is a little bit of a rivalry between you guys, a friendly one, or still kind of maybe in the early stages of that?
I think it's starting. I mean, I think that, you know, obviously before the team in Eagle River got here, we were really the only two teams in Wisconsin, right? So kind of a forced one, and to be honest, a little bit one-sided, you know, prior to this year. But I think anytime you have, you know, competitiveness and close games and good teams, there will be a rivalry there. So I do believe that that's probably one of our good ones that we have. And yeah, like you said, I mean, the division is it's crazy. I mean, with one weekend, you could probably go up or down 3 or 4 places in the standings right now. So you know, we're battling a little sickness and injury after the break, and I think everyone's kind of in that same boat. But no excuses. We got to find a way to get some W's.
And that's, you know, with Janesville, they're 1 point above you in the standings right now. So this is, you know, and I mean, you know, an opportunity for you guys to go past them in the standings and move up a little bit closer to that first one right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, looking at your upcoming schedule here too, because, you know, you're at Janesville, then you're against the Wilderness, but you got quite a few road trips coming up here for a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're the Road Warriors in January, which, you know what, it's we've had some success on the road this year, and you know, for whatever reason that is, I don't really know, but yeah, it's just sometimes it's nice to get away and less distractions, just the boys being together and focusing on the task at hand. And yeah, I mean, hopefully this little stretch here gets us back on track.
So when you got a team that's going through an illness like this, I mean, you know, you've heard other coaches or other teams or stories like, you know, they'll shut down practice or they'll do this. I mean, you know, I remember, was it Devontae Adams for the Packers a few years ago said, "Wash your hands, wash your butt," you know, sort of thing like that. I mean, you kind of have to act almost as a parent a little bit, don't you?
For sure.
When your team's going through an illness like this.
Yeah, you know, and it's tough, right? Because we're just off for 10 days, so it's like, you know, we haven't skated a lot, so there's work to be done to get us back in shape fitness wise, you know, after taking that time off. But you also have to be, you know, conscious of people being sick. So I just tell guys to stay home, and you know, we talk about, you know, changing your sheets and your toothbrush, and, you know, you're drinking your orange juice and getting your, I mean, like, it's just, you gotta give these guys daily reminders with that stuff. And I'm hoping, knock on wood here, that we're kind of towards the end of this bug. I feel like everyone on our team has been sick at some point by now. So, you know, cross our fingers that this is kind of the last run in with this. It's pretty typical for this time of year, especially, you know, guys going home and getting outside of the bubble that they've been in for the last few months. And, you know, you bring new people into the mix, and that's where, you tend to see the sickness come into play. But yeah, we're hoping that we're kind of on the back end of this and can put it behind us for the season. So, you know, it's inevitable that it happens at some point during the year. You just don't want it to linger on too long. And, you know, the nice thing is for us, we have an off weekend after this weekend. So, you know, I wasn't too keen on it being so early in the second half, but to be honest, like where we are with our injuries and sickness, it's actually looks like it's going to be kind of perfect. So yeah, we'll see. Just got to get through, you know, this next week and then we can hit another reset.
You mentioned the second half. So this, I guess, is more kind of like what a question towards your personal philosophy or coaching philosophy. Do you set different goals in the second half? So like at season starts, I'm sure you have goals, or maybe you know, however do you adjust those? Do you have a different mindset? Do you even go with the term second half in front of your players? Like how do you approach that?
I mean, we talk about the second half. We talked about, you know, we had a meeting when we first got back to kind of reestablish what everyone's goals were, you know, as a group and individually. And, you know, the goals haven't changed, right? I mean, now we're just a lot closer to the end of the season, and now they're a little bit more prevalent. But, you know, the points in October and November mean the same as the ones in January and February, right? So it's like you don't want to lose sight of that, but you know, it is a long season. So I think just for us refocusing up and continuing to play and get to our team identity and when we do play that way, we're a really hard team to play against. When we don't play that way, we don't seem to have as much success, you know. And I think for us, it's, you know, still we have a young group of guys, and for them to be able to kind of connect those dots with what makes us successful, and you know, that ownership of that has to go on the players. You know, we've been talking about that quite a bit lately.
What would you say is maybe your, I guess, biggest challenge for your team in the second half? Or is there something on the schedule? You know, I know you got to go to Alaska. Is it February, I believe?
Yeah, it's a little. I think it's later than that, but yeah, it's towards the end of the back half of the season.
So, is there something on the schedule, or maybe something from some of the teams that you've seen, or something else that you would say is, you know, something that, you know, is maybe an obstacle or the biggest challenge? Maybe it's the best word to describe it.
I mean, to be honest, we've played everyone in the division already. We've seen everyone. Some guys, you know, more recently than others. You know, to be honest, I think the biggest challenge is us just not beating ourselves. You know, like I feel like that's been a common theme. Like we've made it easy on teams, and that's a bad recipe, you know. So I think if we can continue to just be more consistent in the way that we want to play, you know, our effort for the most part has been there all year. I never kind of doubt that part of our game and our team. But again, just, you know, being able to make the necessary adjustments, and for some of these guys, it's having some maturity in their game a little bit, and understanding that, you know, things that they were able to get away with and do before they got here aren't nearly as successful, right? If it was, say it was 5 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 before, it's now 2 out of 10, right? And there are some adjustments that we'd like to see them make to have more success that, you know, we're just not doing all the time. So to me, the biggest challenge is ourselves. And you know, we feel as a staff, we're giving these guys, you know, kind of the answers to the test, and now it's on them to take them in and apply them and execute them. And you know, we feel really strongly about the group that we have.
Yeah.
But again, at a certain point, you got to start to produce and prove to us that you can do it. Right.
Right. So with that being said too, when is the trade deadline?
Middle of February.
Okay. Is that something? I mean, because you're general manager too, so you have to. Does that kind of cross your mind at this point a little bit? Or?
Yeah. I mean, it's you know, it's a daily conversation with our staff, and you know, for me, you know, as the coach and the GM, I try to be patient. You know, I think that's part of it, and I think we've just talked about, you know, this is a development level, and it's important for these guys to be given that opportunity to develop. But at the end of the day, like I said, you know, you have to hold up your end of the bargain at a certain point, and you know, we're not looking for everybody to score 50 goals, but
Right.
you have to do something to contribute to us winning, whether it's blocking shots or playing physical or mixing it up a little bit, stirring the pot. I mean, there's many things that you can do to impact the game. And, if you're not doing one or the other over here, you better be doing some of these other things, right? So, and that to me is just fully controllable and, something that we assess on a daily and a weekly basis and have decisions to make at a certain point, because like I said, we have lost the expectations for this year, and
Right.
and we think that we're fairly close to having the team to do it. Now,
Right.
I love every player on our team and what they've given us, and but again, we're in a spot right now where we're currently not in the playoffs, so obviously there's a potential for something that has to be done. But
you're close though too. That's the
I mean,
difficult part.
that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said, it's one weekend away from being from where we are right now. I think tied for 5th to being in 3rd place, right? So it's that's the balance of and what are the moves that you make the right ones for the locker room as well. That's something that's very, very I'm very aware of, and I try to make sure that that's weighed into the decision more so than just the hockey side of it, because it is important.
Right, definitely. As you mentioned, you guys are kind of road warriors this month, but you do have a game on the 20th, so mark that on your calendars. It's also fantastic night, First Responders Night, honoring first responders there, Rain to Rivers of Western Wisconsin. So put that on the calendar for the 20th.
Yeah, we had a great crowd on New Year's Eve. Outstanding crowd.
The boomsticks.
We're asking for the crowds, and we haven't delivered on the ice. So, but we're getting there. We'll as long as these guys keep coming, the effort and the wins will be
absolutely there. pack the ice arena. Can the fans who got the boomsticks, can they keep bringing them back?
Yeah, I think that it's mandatory actually. If you got them, you have to
bring them in. There you go.
Yeah.
If you got some kiddos, I'm sorry if they got those
things
in there, but they do their job though. That's for
right.
sure.
That's right.
Well, best of luck against Janesville.
Grab
a couple wins, get some more points on there, and then we'll catch up next week and talk about those wins too.
Sounds good.
All right, Coach
Thanks.
Casey, Chip with Steel. Again, put it on the calendar. Next home game, the 20th. The 20th. Then they're at home for a little bit there in February too. But make sure you're following them on the social medias to stay updated on how they're doing on the road. We'll take a quick break, and then coming up, RJ Cardinal from the Zone in Madison. We'll talk some Badgers with him after these quick words. Cruising on through here this morning. Let's catch up with our good friend, Mr. RJ Cardinal from the Zone in Madison. Plenty to catch up on with the Badgers and in college football in general too. But going back to the bowl game, RJ, did we learn anything? I mean, first of all, I should start this. Hey, by the way, Happy New Year, RJ. It's been a while since I talked to you, so I should be a little
Happy New
nice.
Year to you too.
Man, I'm so rude. I'm a jerk. I'm sorry. So
It's okay. We've come to understand it with you.
hey, wait a minute. But hey, Luke Fickell era begins with a W, man. So they get the victory against Oklahoma State. But can we take away anything from that game, from what we can expect to see from the Badgers in the future?
I don't think so. I mean, you weren't running the offense we're going to be seeing. Depending on how you look at it, I'm not sure we were running a defense we're going to be seeing. So, while he was the acting head coach, I think it was more still a win for the previous regime. But, I mean, you have to be happy with what you saw. I guess it was more a game of attrition, and the team with more contributors still around, I think, won that one. So it's good to see and finish that out with a win, but I'm not sure how much we can actually take away from it. Hopefully, we do not see the 3-3-5 stack coming to Wisconsin anytime soon, because I'm still not sure that's a defense that can work in the Big Ten. But other than that, yeah, good cap off the year with a winning record. I think we're now the Power 5 team that has the most consecutive years of winning records. So yeah, that's
nice.
That's an accomplishment to have.
Yeah, and sending out Jimmy Leonard with a W too on that too. So
yeah.
I wanted to ask you, going back to the trip, and I know a few weeks ago you talked about this with the quarterback position. You mentioned, the good programs, you look at those, bigger programs, they've got depth at quarterback. Well, now it sure seems like Wisconsin has some freaking options at quarterback here, RJ, because now Tanner Mordecai from SMU is transferring to Wisconsin. We went through his numbers yesterday, but the guy has put up a bunch of numbers there. So you got him, you got Nick Evers, we'll know about, Miles Burkett and that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they got the 2024 kid who's a 4-star quarterback. I mean, this quarterback depth, it looks like a position that's maybe becoming a strength for Wisconsin. Would that be accurate to say?
I mean, you're definitely upgrading the talent in the quarterback room. You now have 2 Oklahoma transfer quarterbacks coming here, even though it'll be Mordecai's 3rd team in his 6 years. But I mean, you can't really argue with his style of play, where you're looking at a guy who at SMU put up 7,100 yards. It's the kind of quarterback we're going to be targeting moving forward, and it'll be interesting to see what we have. I mean, the last 2 seasons at SMU as well, he had like 300 total rushing yards. So it's not like he's trying to get out there and run, but he definitely has that capability. And with Evers, you're seeing a similar style of quarterback. And then, the 2024 Matt Mattenberg. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how to actually say his name. But you're looking at overall talent in the quarterback room being pumped up. So it's turning into probably something that's going to be more along the lines of an open competition coming through, where you can fall back on a experienced quarterback if that's how you want to go. It's not saying that you're looking at your guys that are currently there, because it's not saying they're bad. It's just usually competition breeds success. So having a true quarterback battle to kind of push Burkett. We found out Chase Wolf is coming back. Cole LaCrue is coming in, which a lot of people in the state of Colorado say Wisconsin got a steal in terms of quarterback talent there. You're looking at a quarterback room that's about to have 5 scholarship quarterbacks in it now, and in 2024 you'll end up losing Wolf and Mordecai and bringing in one more. So and who's to say they're not even looking for another quarterback in that cycle? It'll be interesting to see where that position is moving forward, and what that'll all entail in terms of recruiting the wide receiver position as well. What we do know is you're going to have your 2 top running backs coming back next year in what hopefully is an offense that allows a lot less people in the box to see what that can do. And if that's a success, you could probably look at even getting more 4 or 5-star running backs, looking at Wisconsin in the quote-unquote air raid. But with Longo's track record, he runs pretty close to 50-50 split between running and passing out of that air raid.
Mm-hmm. RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, joining us here this morning, talking all things Badgers. So you mentioned the wide receiver thing, and that was kind of going to be another question I was going to ask for you, because when you look at the depth at that position, is that still a position of great need for this Badger team for the upcoming season for the next couple of years?
Yeah, and I mean, you brought in a couple in the recruiting class, but you look at the depth here. When you have the likes of your top 4 still coming back next year, Keontae Lewis, Chimere Dike, and why am I blanking on Skylar Bell? So I mean, you have like your top 4 receivers coming back next year. Hopefully, you can bring in some tight ends, because I mean, or keep them all healthy. So it'll be interesting to see how that's going to go about here. But yeah, it's one of those. We've seen some things out of kids in terms of the wide receiver room, but there's still room for talent to be improved there. And I think we might be able to see maybe even more wide receivers on the field moving forward. So it'll be interesting to see how that actually goes moving forward. But I mean, I think we've seen since the Fickle hire and then the Longo hire, the amount of people who are now looking at Wisconsin as an option, when even before they were like, oh yeah, I loved the place, went on a recruiting visit there, but offensively I just couldn't see myself there. And now it's totally flipped and turned into verbal commits to be the guy to come on in and say, yeah, what I see now is the whole package. I like the system. The campus is amazing. The coaching staff is amazing, rather than it was, I really loved the coaches. I really loved the campus. I can't go play in that system.
Mm-hmm. Switching gears to hoops, Badgers back in action and kicking off, or I should say getting back to their Big Ten portion of the schedule, going up against the Gophers. Purdue just lost again to Rutgers last night, RJ. Wisconsin moved up in the rankings. Purdue, I mean, they were the number 1 team. They still probably will be a top team out there. But you look at the rankings, RJ. You got Purdue, you got Wisconsin, and Indiana's right behind Wisconsin, then Ohio State. But that's it for the Big Ten right now. And I know it'll probably go up and down here or there, but you got Wisconsin as the 14th ranked team in the country right now as they head into this Big Ten portion of their schedule. I mean, when you look at this team, what do you expect, or what should we expect heading into this Big Ten portion? Because I feel like this is going to be a conference now outside of Purdue that I don't know who the second best team is in this conference. Is it Wisconsin? Is it somebody else? Or is that what's going to be decided probably when it's all said and done here?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty much of a dogfight there. Whether it was Purdue had just a down night, or whether, I mean, well, Rutgers has done it 2 years in a row now.
Yeah.
Whether they just know how to beat Purdue. Last year we saw Wisconsin beat Purdue as well. And it was one of those where it's like, wow, we finally got that monkey off our back. But it could be one of those where, like you said, I mean, you got the Badgers, the Buckeyes, and Indiana right behind there. Heck, even Michigan's now 2-0 in the Big Ten. I mean, the rest of their schedule has made them look silly at times, but you're not too far into this. And I mean, teams that were projected to be up there in terms of like Illinois and the Hawkeyes. I mean, granted, Illinois or the Iowa's dealing with some injuries there, so who knows if they get healthy, if they're going to be in and involved moving forward or not. But I mean, all you got to do is take care of your business and play to the ability we've seen the Badgers do here. I mean, Minnesota shouldn't be that difficult of a task tonight. But I mean, we've seen Wisconsin struggle against teams it should be dominating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, heck, I think I just saw that St. Thomas, who is in their second year in Division I basketball, is now ranked ahead of Minnesota.
Wow.
So I mean, it's one of those where the Gophers program as a whole is having a little bit of issues right now. But in the Big Ten, I mean, we've seen it year in, year out, and just look at last night. Any given night, a team can walk into an opposing arena and put up a W. So it should be take care of business, and you're going to win tonight. But it wouldn't surprise me if this was a close game versus Minnesota.
Then we got men's hockey here, RJ, where if we look back at the holiday face-off, they defeated Lake Superior State 4-0, but the men's team fell to Clarkson 1-3. Now they got Notre Dame coming up this weekend, RJ. I mean, you look at this team, they're what, 8-12 overall, 1-9 in conference play. They are 5-5 at home this year, but I mean, when you look at the rest of this schedule, I mean, you've got Notre Dame, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan, Minnesota, Michigan State, Penn State. 500 would probably be asking for a lot for a record for that Badger men's hockey team, I have to imagine.
Yeah, I mean, in your first go round with your conference teams, you're 1-9, and your road series against Michigan State was supposed to be one where you could probably steal it and get out with a sweep, and I mean, that didn't happen at all. You're walking in here to it's really one of those, we talked about it much earlier in the year, steal some wins somewhere down the line, and we talked about it in November leading into the Long Island and the Lindenwood series back to back. You better get 4 wins there, because wins are going to be hard to come by after that. You stole one at home against Michigan in early December. But then you lost 3 in a row to Michigan, Minnesota, and then Minnesota again. And that Minnesota series, you looked like you didn't belong. And then we talked about getting wins at the Quick Trip holiday face-off. They got one. They looked competitive versus Clarkson. It just didn't go their way. Now you're jumping back into the Big Ten play, and then there's a one-game next week against the U.S. developmental team. And it's one of those, just hopefully you don't embarrass yourself in the final 2 months here, getting ready for the Big Ten tournament. I mean, because you're going to make it. There's no way you're going to be hosting it. So you better hope that you can at least steal a couple here. Because you got Notre Dame coming this weekend. Ohio State's coming here. You're going on the road to Michigan. You're then also on the road to South Bend. but then you're ending up having Minnesota and Michigan State return here, and then closing out on the road at Penn State. So, I mean, there's no easy stretch here for this team to make up any wins. It's really fight and claw, get those, as Barry Richter, who comes in every now and then to talk hockey with us, says, you got to get those greasy goals. At this point, you don't have the talent to be looking like the NHL kind of play and just have some pretty goals. You got to clean up the trash in front of the net and put it in the net. So this team has to get down and really dig deep to try to salvage a season that probably doesn't have anything to be salvaged right now.
At least on the women's side, I mean, that's rinse and repeat with that program over there. Fourth in the pairwise right now, but you look at their upcoming schedule too, and they've got Minnesota Duluth coming up. Minnesota Duluth coming up. They're eighth in the pairwise. Then they got Ohio State, who's number 1 in the rankings. So this is a big next couple of weeks for this women's Badger team.
Oh, absolutely, and it's one of those we always talk about. It's you're getting through your conference, which is the toughest conference in the country, and so you're getting a real test before you head on into your conference tournament. And then more likely than not, when you're number 4 in the pairwise, you're going to be invited to the NCAA tournament, whether you win your conference or not. So it's one of those, you're not too worried about the team. You haven't played Ohio State yet this year. You're 12-1-1 in your conference. It's one of those, let's start racking up some wins so we can get out there and just start getting ready for a postseason run.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, RJ. Hey, appreciate the time as always, buddy. You have yourself a good rest of the week. Okay, man. Are we going to get any more big time Badger transfers now that we talked? You think, for football?
I mean, probably. I mean, since we mentioned it, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
We'll have something to talk about next week, most likely.
No doubt. So, all right, dude. Hey, appreciate the time, buddy, and we'll catch up again soon. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We will talk to you later.
You got it. There you go. RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, joining us here this morning. So, all right, let's regroup here and finish off this final segment strong. We're going to take a quick break, cover the bases and closing statements and all that good stuff. So we'll do that. Give me a 20. Give me a quick 20-second timeout here. A little bit longer than that. All right, we'll be back after these words. Oh, man, what a busy morning we've had here. Holy cow. In case you missed it, about an hour ago, we announced that we're partnering up with Mike's Star Market here in Eau Claire, west side of Eau Claire. Going to be doing our own, well, we got 2 brats coming. Going to do a Man Cave Light one, and then it's up to you, the listeners. We need your help for the flavor for the second brat and snack sticks, too. So all you got to do is head to our website at sportstalk1051.com. Click on that Nation tab. And you can make your submissions. You can make your nominations. You can give us some ideas. All right, we're looking for them. We are looking for them. So fill it out. And if we do select your flavor idea or recipe, you're going to win a gift card to Mike Star Market. So I can't wait. And the best part is that we're going to be $1 a package is going to be going to Backyard Dreams too. So that's going to be a lot of fun helping out for Backyard Dreams. So can't wait. Getting that started. That officially kicked off this morning. So we are taking your nominations or your ideas right now. I have not seen a update surrounding DeMar Hamlin right now, and nothing really new from when we first started this morning. But again, in case you missed the update from yesterday, his vitals were back to normal. They have put him to sleep to put a breathing tube down his throat. They are currently running tests. That was from about 11 hours ago from his marketing agent on Twitter. So, but he did suffer a cardiac event, had CPR on the field during the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals game yesterday. Very, very, very scary situation. So, regarding, Bengals and Bills making up the game or whatever, I don't know what the plan is. I haven't heard. I haven't seen anything, but we'll just kind of wait and see what happens. Yeah, but the biggest thing, the most important thing is DeMar Hamlin and his health, making sure that he's okay. So, we mentioned it, Bucks. They've got game tonight against Washington, tip-off at 7. So you can listen to that. Your best plan is to listen to the game right here on your radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. That's coverage will begin about 6:30. So you got the game on the radio. You can watch the Badger Hoops game going up against the Gophers at 8 o'clock. So there you go. Win-win situation right there. Badgers at 8, Bucks at 7. Listen to the Bucks on the radio. Watch the Badgers on the TV. That's how you go about it. We talked a lot about the Packers here this morning. We know now that they will play Sunday night prime time. I think it's prime time last game of the regular season. Detroit will know. I can't imagine that unless maybe never say never, but maybe the Lions will go into that thinking, hey, we don't want to know the result of the Seattle game, but I got to imagine they won't be at home, so Green Bay will maybe broadcast that. I don't know. You would think they would. So, but it doesn't really matter to Green Bay because they win, they're in. Yeah, there you go. Packers will return to practice tomorrow, and maybe we'll get. I don't think off the top of my head, Green Bay didn't really suffer any injuries in that Minnesota game, right? Off the top of my head, I don't think so. No, unless I'm blanking. I mean, obviously, Aaron Jones has been playing banged up, and a couple other players here and there nicked up. Christian Watson did play, but I'm sure they probably give him another day of rest, a couple days this week, and along with Keyshawn Nixon with the groin injury too. So, but I think Aaron will probably be on his spot with Pat McAfee later this afternoon on YouTube. So. Other stuff on the docket here. We mentioned it. The NBA, Donovan Mitchell, 71 points last night in overtime, the most since Kobe dropped his 81. Klay Thompson also put up 54 points. Rutgers upset number 1 Purdue in men's hoops last night. If you're a soccer fan, what is this? No Newcastle clause and Cristiano Ronaldo's contract. Yeah, okay. Got that. When is that? Sources telling the Saudi Arabian club, telling ESPN that reports of a clause allowing Ronaldo to join Newcastle United on loan if they qualify for next season Champions League are fake. He will see out his Cristiano Ronaldo will see out his 2.5-year contract at Al Nassr. Okay, that's what it's about. All right. What else do we got on the docket here? Anything else? Oh, yeah. Get ready for the Jim Harbaugh reports out there. Report Harbaugh would return to the NFL if offered a job. I think it's going to be a little bit more than just an offer. You know, it sure sounded like he was going to be the Vikings coach last year, right? I mean, it was between him and O'Connell. I mean, it really sounded like it was going to be Harbaugh's if we believed all the reports and rumors. Then it sounded like, he wanted like the 10-year, like the John Gruden deal. So if that's what it's going to take, I think it's going to take more than just an offer. But, you got the Broncos who've got boatloads of cash now with their new ownership group. Does Jim Irsay bring back Jim Harbaugh to the Colts? Whatever, Carolina, are they going to keep Steve Wilkes? I mean, that's the other thing, too, with this final game coming up here this weekend, the Monday after. I know in the NFL world, they kind of call it Black Monday there, but that's when you see coaches and coaching staffs being relieved of their duties and trying to find new jobs, and families are going to be up on the move too. So, that's kind of the downfall with that Monday after. It might be a victory Monday. We're hoping it's a victory Monday for Packers fans, but for some people, they might be losing their jobs on there too. But I'm sure there'll be a few more openings, or maybe a couple more openings out there that aren't currently open, like, Colts and Broncos and the Panthers and such out there too. I mean, Sean Payton's a wild card out there. It's going to take a lot to get him as well. So we talked a little college football there with some of the bowl games wrapping up. Now we got the college national championship next Monday. Don't forget that's also next Monday too. But Tulane beating USC, scoring 16 points in the final few minutes there. Penn State got the victory over Utah as well. Mississippi State honoring Coach Leach. They came away with a victory against Illinois, and then LSU dominating Purdue. Absolutely dominating them. All right. Shot clock's going to cut me off here, so I can't get into any closing statements here. But coming up tomorrow, it's Making the Turn Wednesday, so we'll do some stock reports. Whose stock is rising? Whose stock is falling? Also, we'll get to another edition of Showdown. We'll have a Good Vibes Wednesday story coming at you tomorrow there too. And we'll be talking some Bucks, and hopefully they can pick up a win here and get ready for their game against Toronto the next night. And hopefully, well, unless you're a Gophers fan, but hopefully the Badgers pick up a W against the Gophers in hoops tonight there too. So we'll hit that all up, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more football leading into this weekend's games and such. So, but okay, yeah, I really can't, because that shot clock is going to cut me off. So don't forget, get into our website, sportstalk1051.com, and start submitting your flavor ideas, recipes for our brat and our snack sticks. We're partnering up with Mike's Star Market. $1 per package, going to be going to Backyard Dreams. So let's get those flavors out there and let's sell a bunch, right? You know it. DP and the Danettes, they're up next. Have a great Tuesday. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, just past 6. We'll chat with you then.